If you try to clear that water by reaching in and stirring it with your hands, you will only make the cloudiness worse, adding more movement to an already restless state. Meditation is the act of stepping back, of sitting quietly on the shore, and allowing the natural weight of the silt to settle on its own, through the simple passage of time and the absence of interference. It is a process of returning to your natural state, which is inherently clear, calm, and luminous, much like the sky remains vast and blue even when thick clouds temporarily hide it from view. When people first hear the word meditation, they often imagine a person sitting perfectly still like a stone statue, perhaps on a high mountain peak, separated from all the noise of daily life. In reality, meditation is a living, breathing experience that belongs right in the middle of your kitchen, your office, or the busy streets where you walk every day. It is the art of being fully present with whatever is happening in this very moment, without the need to judge it, change it, or run away from it into the safety of your memories or the dreams of your future. To meditate is to look at your life with eyes of kindness, acknowledging the tiredness in your shoulders, the racing thoughts in your mind, and the warmth of the air on your skin with an equal sense of gentle curiosity. There is a beautiful story from the time of the Buddha about a young man named Anuruddha, who was known for his incredible focus, yet even he had to learn that true meditation is not about forcing the mind into a tight corner. One day, while he was struggling to find peace, he was reminded that the mind is like a musical instrument, specifically a lute, which produces the most beautiful sounds only when the strings are neither too tight nor too loose. If the strings are pulled too tight, they will snap, and if they are left too loose, they will produce no music at all, so the secret lies in finding that middle path of effortless effort. For you, as someone starting this journey, it is helpful to realize that you are not trying to become a different person or reach some faraway state of holiness. You are simply learning to come home to the breath, which is the most loyal companion you have ever had, staying with you from the very first second you entered this world until the final moment you leave it. When you focus on your breath, you are not trying to breathe in a special way, nor are you trying to achieve a specific result like a sudden burst of lightning or a mystical vision. You are simply noticing the cool air as it enters your nostrils, the slight expansion of your chest, and the soft release as the breath leaves your body, over and over again. This rhythmic movement is the anchor that keeps your boat from drifting away in the stormy seas of worry and overthinking, providing a safe harbor where you can rest without demands. Many friends feel discouraged because they think that as soon as they sit down to meditate, their minds should become silent like an empty room, but then they find it is more like a crowded marketplace full of shouting voices. Please do not worry when this happens, because the goal of meditation is not to stop your thoughts, but to change your relationship with them so they no longer have the power to pull you around. Think of your thoughts as clouds passing across the sky, where some are light and fluffy while others are dark and heavy with rain, yet none of them can ever hurt the sky itself. You are the sky, vast and unchanging, and the thoughts are just temporary weather patterns that appear, stay for a little while, and then inevitably vanish to make room for something else. When you notice that you have wandered off into a story about what happened yesterday or a plan for what you will eat tomorrow, you have actually reached a moment of great success. That moment of noticing is a spark of pure awareness, and all you need to do is gently, without any scolding or frustration, bring your attention back to the physical sensation of the breathing. It is like training a very young, energetic puppy that wants to run after every butterfly and every rustling leaf it sees in the park. You do not hit the puppy or get angry at its nature, but you instead pick it up with love and place it back on the path, repeating this 1,000 times if necessary until the puppy learns to walk calmly by your side. In the ancient records of the Buddha's teachings, there is a story about a man who was once very restless and sought a way to find peace amidst his many responsibilities. He was told to watch his mind like a gatekeeper stands at the city gate, observing every traveler who enters and every traveler who leaves, without needing to follow them home or ask them for their life story. As a gatekeeper, you see a thought of anger arrive, you acknowledge its presence, and you watch it depart. Then you see a thought of joy arrive, you acknowledge it, and you watch it depart too. By remaining at the gate, which is the present moment, you remain free from the exhaustion of chasing after every guest who passes through the city of your mind. This practice creates a space between you and your emotions, so that when a difficult feeling arises, you can say to yourself that there is a feeling of sadness present, rather than saying I am sad. That tiny shift in language is a profound act of liberation, because it reminds you that you are the observer of the experience, not the experience itself, and this gives you the room to breathe. If you are wondering how to actually begin, the best way is to start exactly where you are, using the body you have and the time you can spare, even if it is only a few minutes each day. Find a place where you feel relatively safe and comfortable, perhaps a chair where your feet can touch the floor or a cushion on the ground, and allow your spine to be upright but not stiff. Think of your back like a string of pearls, where each pearl is stacked perfectly on top of the other, allowing the energy of your body to flow freely and naturally. Your hands can rest gently on your knees or in your lap, forming a circle of warmth that reminds you of your own completeness and your own inherent worth. Closing your eyes can help to turn your attention inward, away from the many distractions of the visual world, but if you prefer to keep them slightly open with a soft gaze on the floor, that is perfectly fine too. The most important thing is to cultivate a sense of ease, as if you are settling down to watch a sunset or listening to the sound of rain on a tin roof. There is no need to use fancy words or complicated visualizations, because the truth of meditation is found in the simple, raw sensations of being alive right now. You might feel the weight of your body pressing against the chair, the tingling in your fingertips, or the subtle movement of your belly as it rises and falls with each cycle of air. These sensations are your teachers, guiding you away from the abstract world of concepts and back into the vivid reality of the physical world where life actually happens. One of the most beautiful aspects of this practice is that it requires absolutely no special equipment, no membership fees, and no specific belief system to work its quiet magic on your heart. It is a universal human capacity, a birthright that we all share, regardless of where we come from or what stories we have been told about who we are. When the Buddha spoke to the people of his time, he often used the image of a skilled woodcarver who knows exactly how much pressure to apply to the wood to bring out the hidden beauty within. You are both the woodcarver and the wood, and through the practice of meditation, you are slowly carving away the layers of stress, confusion, and habit that have obscured your true nature. As you sit, you might find that certain memories bubble up to the surface, some sweet and some bitter, like bubbles rising in a glass of sparkling water. Instead of trying to push them down or hold on to them, try to let them rise and pop at their own pace, recognizing that they are just echoes of things that have already passed. There was once a devoted student who asked a wise teacher how long it would take to achieve peace, and the teacher replied that it would take as long as it takes for the student to stop asking that question. This reminds us that meditation is not a race, there is no finish line to cross, and there is no one to beat, because the journey itself is the destination. Every breath you take in awareness is a complete act of meditation in itself, a moment where you have chosen to be awake rather than asleep to the beauty of your own existence. It is like planting a tiny seed in the dark earth and having the patience to water it every day, knowing that the growth is happening beneath the surface even when you cannot see it. You do not dig up the seed every hour to see if it has sprouted, but you trust in the process of nature and the power of consistent, gentle care. Over time, this practice of sitting in silence begins to leak into the rest of your life, changing the way you talk to your friends, the way you handle a difficult email at work, and even the way you taste your food. You start to notice the tiny details that you were previously too busy to see, like the way the light hits a leaf in the morning or the subtle shifts in the tone of someone's voice when they are speaking to you. This is the fruit of meditation, a heightened sense of aliveness that makes even the most ordinary tasks feel like a sacred ritual of connection. You realize that you don't need to go to a temple to find the sacred, because the sacred is right here in the steam rising from your coffee or the feeling of the wind against your face. The Buddha once taught that the path to freedom is found in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which involve being aware of the body, the feelings, the mind, and the very nature of reality itself. By starting with the body and the breath, you are building a solid foundation upon which a life of wisdom and compassion can be built, stone by stone and breath by breath. Sometimes, when you are sitting, you might feel a sense of boredom or a restless urge to get up and do something productive, which is a very common hurdle for everyone. In those moments, try to look directly at the boredom itself, notice where it lives in your body, and ask yourself what it really feels like without the label of being a negative thing. You might find that boredom is actually a very quiet, still space that your mind is simply not used to inhabit, and by staying with it, you can discover a new kind of richness. There is an old story of a traveler who was so focused on reaching the next village that he never noticed the beautiful flowers lining the path or the singing of the birds in the trees. He arrived at his destination exhausted and grumpy, only to realize that the village was not nearly as interesting as the journey he had rushed through. Meditation teaches you to be the traveler who stops to smell the flowers, who appreciates the shade of a large tree, and who arrives at each moment with a heart that is open and ready. As you continue to sit and breathe, you might also encounter physical discomfort, perhaps a slight ache in your back or a tickle on your nose that demands to be scratched. Instead of reacting immediately, try to observe the sensation as if you were a scientist studying a curious phenomenon in a laboratory, noticing how it changes over time. You will see that even the most intense sensations have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that they are constantly shifting and vibrating rather than being solid blocks of pain. This insight is incredibly powerful, because it shows you that everything in life is impermanent and that you have the strength to weather any storm by simply staying present. The Buddha once compared the mind to a wild elephant that has been caught in the forest and must be tied to a strong post to be tamed. The post is your breath, and the rope is your mindfulness, and though the elephant may struggle and pull at first, eventually it will learn to stand peacefully by the post, becoming a loyal and powerful friend. When you finish your meditation, try not to rush immediately back into the chaos of your to-do list, but take a few moments to appreciate the stillness you have cultivated. Carry that sense of peace with you as you stand up, as you walk across the room, and as you begin your next task, letting it be a soft background music to your day. You will find that you are less likely to snap at someone in traffic or get overwhelmed by a small mistake, because you have created a buffer of calm around your heart. This is how meditation becomes a gift not just for yourself, but for everyone you encounter, as your presence becomes a source of stability and kindness in a world that often feels very unstable. You are not just sitting for your own benefit, you are sitting so that you can be a better friend, a better partner, and a more compassionate human being to all living things. As you move through your days, remember that there is no such thing as a bad meditation session, because even the ones that feel messy and distracted are providing you with valuable information about your mind. Each time you return to the breath after being lost in thought, you are strengthening the muscle of your awareness, making it easier for you to stay centered in the future. It is a slow, beautiful unfolding of your own potential, a journey of 1,000 miles that begins with a single, conscious breath in this very room. There were once 2 monks who were walking in the rain, and one complained about the mud and the wet clothes, while the other simply enjoyed the feeling of the water on his skin and the smell of the earth. Both were in the same rain, but one was suffering while the other was at peace, and the difference lay entirely in the way they chose to relate to the present moment. Meditation gives you the power to choose peace, to choose presence, and to choose love, regardless of the weather that life happens to bring your way. Following the rhythm of your own heart, you might notice that the more you allow yourself to just be, the more clearly you can see the intricate patterns of your own habits without the need to criticize them. It is quite fascinating to observe how the mind loves to create problems just so it can spend the rest of the day trying to solve them, like a weaver who tangles their own yarn only to complain about the knots. In the ancient times, there was a story of a woman named Kisa Gautami who was overwhelmed by a great heaviness in her heart, searching everywhere for a miracle to take away her pain. When she finally approached the Buddha, he did not give her a complex lecture or a difficult task, but instead asked her to find a tiny mustard seed from a house where no one had ever experienced the loss of a loved one. As she walked from door to door, she realized that every single person she met was carrying their own silent burden, their own stories of change and transition. This realization did not make her own burden heavier, but rather it dissolved the walls of her isolation, allowing her to feel a profound connection to the shared human experience. Meditation works in a very similar way, as it gently dissolves the illusion that you are alone in your struggles, showing you that the very feelings you try to hide are the ones that connect you most deeply to the world. When you sit quietly, you are not trying to build a fortress to keep life out, but rather you are opening all the windows and doors of your heart to let the fresh air of reality blow through. You might feel a sudden wave of joy for no reason at all, or a flicker of an old regret that you thought you had forgotten long ago, and the practice is simply to bow to each one as they pass by. There is a deep, quiet dignity in this act of witnessing, a sense of being an ancient mountain that remains unmoved while the seasons change from the golden heat of summer to the biting frost of winter. The mountain does not try to hold on to the autumn leaves or fight against the falling snow, it simply hosts them all with an unwavering stability that comes from knowing its own depth. You have that same mountain-like quality within you, a place of stillness that is deeper than any emotion and more permanent than any thought, waiting for you to rediscover it beneath the noise of your daily chores. It is often helpful to remember that meditation is not a performance, and there is no one standing over you with a clipboard to grade how well you are breathing or how still you are sitting. If your leg falls asleep or if you feel the need to shift your weight, do so with mindfulness and gentleness, treating your body with the same care you would give to a dear friend who is resting. There was a young novice in a mountain monastery who used to get very frustrated because he thought he was failing every time his mind wandered toward the thought of the sweet cakes being prepared in the kitchen. His teacher told him that the thought of the cake was not the problem, but the tug of war he was playing with the thought was what was making him tired. The teacher suggested that instead of fighting the thought, he should simply acknowledge it by saying to himself, "Thinking of sweetness," and then return to the feeling of the cool mountain air entering his lungs. This simple change turned a moment of frustration into a moment of light-hearted awareness, proving that humor and kindness are far more effective tools for the path than stern discipline or self-reproach. As you become more comfortable with the silence, you might start to notice the spaces between your thoughts, those tiny gaps of pure stillness that usually go unnoticed in the rush of life. These gaps are like the silence between notes in a beautiful piece of music, which actually give the melody its shape and its meaning, for without the silence, the music would just be a continuous, overwhelming noise. In meditation, we learn to appreciate these quiet intervals, allowing them to stretch and grow until we find that we can rest in them even when the mind is active. It is like being at the bottom of a deep ocean where the water is perfectly still and calm, even if there are giant waves crashing and churning on the surface far above your head. You can acknowledge the waves and even feel their movement, but they do not disturb the profound peace of the depths where you are resting. Sometimes, people ask if they need to change their diet or their clothes or their lifestyle to be good at meditation, but the beauty of this path is that it meets you exactly where you are. You do not need to sit in a special way if your body does not allow it, for meditation is an internal posture of the heart rather than a physical position of the limbs. There was a famous lay follower in the time of the Buddha who was a very busy person with many responsibilities, yet he practiced mindfulness while he was working, while he was eating, and even while he was walking to meet his business partners. He understood that every moment is an opportunity to wake up, and that the mundane tasks of life are not obstacles to meditation, but are the very materials we use to practice. When you are washing your hands, feel the temperature of the water and the texture of the soap, and when you are walking to your car, feel the ground beneath your feet and the movement of your muscles. This is meditation in action, a way of living that turns every ordinary second into a vivid, vibrant experience of being truly alive. You might find that as you practice, you become more sensitive to the beauty that surrounds you, the kind of beauty that you used to walk past without a second glance. The way the light reflects off a puddle after the rain, the intricate patterns of a spider's web in the corner of a window, or the simple rhythm of a neighbor's footsteps can all become sources of wonder. This is because meditation cleans the windows of your perception, removing the dust of habit and the film of preoccupation that usually blurs your vision. It is as if you have been living in a black and white world and suddenly someone has turned on the colors, making everything look fresh and new as if you are seeing it for the very first time. This sense of wonder is a natural expression of a mind that is no longer trapped in the past or the future, but is fully engaged with the miracle of the now. There is a lovely story about a king who once asked a sage to show him the meaning of true peace, and the sage led him to a roaring waterfall that was loud and chaotic. Behind the waterfall, in a tiny crevice of the rock, a mother bird had built her nest and was sitting calmly on her eggs, completely undisturbed by the thundering water just inches away. The sage explained that true peace is not found in a place where there is no noise or trouble, but in the ability to be calm in the very midst of the noise. This is what you are cultivating when you sit to meditate, a nest of stillness in the middle of the waterfall of your life, where you can find refuge regardless of what is happening around you. It gives you a sense of inner resilience, a quiet strength that allows you to face the challenges of the world with a steady hand and a clear heart. You may also notice that your capacity for compassion grows naturally the more you sit with yourself, because when you see your own struggles with kindness, it becomes much easier to see the struggles of others with that same kindness. You realize that everyone you meet is also trying their best to find happiness and avoid pain, even if their methods are sometimes confused or hurtful. This understanding acts like a soft rain on the parched earth of your heart, allowing the seeds of empathy to sprout and bloom in your daily interactions. You find yourself listening more deeply to your friends, offering a smile to a stranger without expecting anything in return, and feeling a genuine sense of joy in the successes of others. This is the social dimension of meditation, a quiet revolution of the heart that begins with a single person sitting in silence and ripples outward to touch the lives of many. In the tradition of the elders, it is said that the mind is like a mirror that has been covered with layers of soot and grime from the fires of our desires and our fears. Meditation is the gentle process of polishing that mirror, bit by bit, until it can once again reflect the world clearly and accurately without distortion. When the mirror is clean, you see things as they really are, not as you want them to be or as you fear they might become, and this clarity brings a profound sense of relief. You no longer need to fight against reality or try to force the world to fit into your expectations, because you have found a way to be at peace with the way things are. This does not mean you become passive or indifferent, but rather that your actions become more effective and more skillful because they are based on a clear understanding of the situation. Sometimes, during your practice, you might feel a sense of lightness or even a feeling of expanding beyond the boundaries of your physical body, which can be a very beautiful and liberating experience. It is a reminder that you are much more than just your name, your job, or the physical shell you inhabit, and that you are part of a much larger, interconnected web of life. The Buddha taught that the idea of a separate, permanent self is like a bubble on the surface of a river, appearing for a moment and then merging back into the water from which it came. By experiencing this interconnectedness, you lose the heavy burden of having to protect and defend a small, fragile ego, and you begin to feel a sense of kinship with all beings, from the smallest insect to the tallest tree. This realization is like a cool breeze on a hot day, bringing a sense of refreshment and a deep, abiding joy that does not depend on external circumstances. As you sit in this moment, let your heart be as wide as the ocean, capable of holding all the waves of experience without being diminished by them. There is plenty of room for your tiredness, your curiosity, your doubts, and your quiet aspirations, for all of them are part of the rich tapestry of your life. You are not trying to get rid of anything, but rather you are learning to hold everything with a sense of spaciousness and grace. This is the true meaning of meditation, a journey of returning to the home you never really left, a place of peace that has been waiting for you all along in the silence between your breaths. Each time you sit, you are honoring that place, and each time you breathe with awareness, you are bringing its light into the world for the benefit of all. This internal vastness you are discovering is not a place you visit only once or twice, but a constant source of nourishment that stays with you even when you are walking through a crowded street or dealing with the small frustrations of a busy morning. To deepen this connection, you might consider how the quality of your attention is very much like the gentle touch of a mother holding her sleeping child, full of care and protective warmth without any desire to wake the child up or demand anything in return. In the ancient times, there was a young man named Rahula who was learning the importance of truthfulness and reflection, and he was shown that the mind is like a clear bowl of water. If that water is colored with red dye, you cannot see the true color of the things beneath it, and if the water is boiling, you cannot see your own reflection clearly. Through the practice of being still, you are simply allowing the water of your mind to cool down and the artificial dyes of your temporary moods to fade away, revealing the natural transparency that was always there. When you begin to sense this clarity, you might also notice a shift in how you experience time itself, moving away from the feeling of being a hunter chasing the next hour and becoming instead like a tree that simply enjoys the sunlight as it falls. We spend so much of our lives waiting for the next thing to happen, waiting for the weekend, waiting for a holiday, or waiting for a better version of ourselves to arrive, that we often forget to inhabit the body we are in right now. Meditation is the radical act of stopping the wait, of declaring that this moment, with all its imperfections and its simple ordinary nature, is actually enough. There is a story of a traveler who found a hidden garden in the middle of a desert, and instead of rushing to the other side to see what lay beyond, he sat down to appreciate the texture of a single flower petal and the coolness of the shade. He realized that the desert was not an obstacle to the garden, but the very context that made the garden so precious and beautiful to his eyes. Your life is that garden, and even the dry, difficult patches of your experience are necessary for the whole landscape to exist. As you sit, you might feel the urge to investigate the nature of your physical presence more deeply, moving your awareness through your body like a slow, golden light that warms everything it touches. You can start at the very tips of your toes, noticing the space between them and the way they feel inside your socks or against the floor, and then move upward through the ankles, the calves, and the knees. Notice if you are holding any hidden tension in your thighs or your hips, and as the light of your awareness reaches those areas, imagine them softening like wax near a gentle flame. This is not a task to be completed, but a way of saying thank you to your body for carrying you through the world, for digesting your food, for beating your heart, and for allowing you to experience the wonders of the senses. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of being mindful of the body as a way to stay grounded, comparing a person who lacks this awareness to a dry piece of wood that is easily tossed about by the wind. By staying connected to the physical reality of your sitting, you become like a heavy stone at the bottom of a river, which remains stable and firm even when the current is strong and fast. You might notice the rising of your shoulders as you inhale and the way they drop away from your ears as you exhale, releasing the invisible weight of the world that you sometimes carry without even realizing it. This physical release is often followed by a mental release, as the knots in your thoughts begin to loosen when they see that the body is no longer in a state of alarm. It is also helpful to observe the way your mind labels things as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, because these labels are often the source of our restlessness. If you hear a bird singing, your mind might label it as pleasant and try to hold on to the sound, but if you hear a loud construction noise, your mind might label it as unpleasant and try to push it away. If you hear the hum of a refrigerator, you might label it as neutral and ignore it entirely, missing the vibrant hum of energy that is present in that very sound. Meditation invites you to look past these labels and simply experience the raw vibration of the sound itself, without the need to categorize it or react to it. There was a monk who lived in a very noisy part of a city, and instead of complaining about the traffic, he began to listen to the sounds of the cars as if they were the sounds of the wind in a pine forest. By changing his perception, the noise that once caused him irritation became a beautiful symphony of movement, and he found that peace was not about the absence of noise, but about the absence of resistance. In the same way, you can look at the feelings that arise in your heart with a sense of equanimity, which is a big word that simply means a balanced heart that can handle the ups and the downs of life with equal grace. Imagine your heart is like a large mirror that reflects a beautiful flower and then reflects a pile of garbage with the same impartiality, never being stained by the garbage or improved by the flower. The mirror remains perfectly clean and clear because it does not cling to what it sees, it simply allows the images to appear and disappear in their own time. When you practice this kind of open awareness, you find that you are no longer a victim of your emotions, but rather a kind and spacious host who welcomes all guests into the house of your heart. There is a story about a teacher who was asked how to deal with a mind that feels like it is constantly jumping from one branch to another, like a restless monkey. The teacher suggested that instead of trying to tie the monkey down or punish it, you should simply give the monkey a job, such as watching the breath or counting the steps as you walk. When the monkey has a clear task to focus on, it naturally becomes more calm and less inclined to cause trouble, and eventually, it might even sit down and rest by your side. This shows us that we do not need to be at war with ourselves to find peace, but we can use our natural tendencies in a skillful way to lead us toward a state of harmony. You are not trying to kill the monkey or ignore its existence, but you are learning how to be its friend and its guide, using the tools of mindfulness and patience. As you continue this journey, you may find that you develop a deeper sense of gratitude for the simple things that you once took for granted. The warmth of a cup of tea in your hands, the sight of the moon rising in the evening sky, or the sound of a loved one's laughter can fill you with a profound sense of wealth that has nothing to do with money or possessions. This gratitude is a natural byproduct of being present, because when you are truly here, you can see the abundance that is already available to you in every moment. The Buddha taught that a person who is content with little is actually the richest person in the world, because they are no longer a slave to the endless cycle of wanting more. Meditation helps you to tap into this inner well of contentment, providing you with a sense of security that cannot be taken away by any external loss or change. Sometimes, you might feel a sense of doubt about whether you are making any progress, or you might compare your experience to the descriptions you have read in books or heard from others. Please remember that your journey is uniquely yours, and there is no right or wrong way for your heart to open, as long as you are approaching it with sincerity and kindness. In the time of the Buddha, there was a man who felt he was too unintelligent to learn the deep philosophies, so he was simply told to focus on the act of sweeping the ground while repeating two simple words about clearing away the dust. Through that humble and repetitive task, performed with complete presence and dedication, he eventually realized the highest wisdom of the path. This reminds us that it is not the complexity of the technique that matters, but the quality of the heart and the consistency of the effort. As you sit in this quiet space, let your awareness expand beyond the walls of the room you are in, sensing the life that is pulsing all around you in the trees, the animals, and the people in your neighborhood. You are part of this grand, living symphony, a single note that is essential to the harmony of the whole, and your practice of peace is a contribution to the peace of the world. Each time you choose to breathe with awareness instead of reacting in anger, you are making the world a slightly gentler place for everyone to live in. It is a quiet, invisible work, but it is the most important work a human being can do, for the outer world is always a reflection of our inner state. By cultivating a garden of peace within your own heart, you are naturally sharing the fragrance of that garden with everyone you meet, without even needing to say a word. Deepening this inner stillness, you may begin to notice that meditation is not just about the silence of the voice, but also about the silence of the ego, that part of us that is always trying to prove something or defend a certain image. It is like being a wide, open valley that simply receives the rain, the sun, and the wind without trying to be a mountain or a river. In the days of the Buddha, there was a story about a man who was very proud of his intellect and his ability to debate anyone on the nuances of philosophy. He came to the Buddha with a long list of complex questions, hoping to show off his brilliance, but the Buddha remained quiet, looking at him with eyes full of such immense peace that the man's words eventually faltered and died away. In that silence, the man realized that all his theories were just like dry leaves blowing in the wind, and that the truth he was seeking was not in the words, but in the space between the words. You too can find this space, a place where you don't have to be smart, successful, or special, but where you can simply be a living, breathing part of the universe. As you explore this sense of being, you might find that your relationship with your own mistakes begins to change, shifting from a place of harsh judgment to a place of gentle observation. We are often our own most difficult critics, replaying our failures like a broken record and wondering why we couldn't have been better, faster, or kinder. Meditation teaches you to see these thoughts as nothing more than old habits of the mind, which have no more substance than the shadow cast by a cloud on a sunny field. There is a beautiful account of a follower who was once a very skilled archer, and he learned that if he focused too hard on the target or on his own desire to win, his hand would tremble and his arrow would miss the mark. But when he learned to breathe and let go of the result, becoming one with the bow and the air, the arrow found its way to the center of the target as if by magic. This is the secret of a mindful life, where you perform your duties with all your heart, but you leave the outcome to the natural flow of things, trusting that when you are centered, your actions will naturally be right. This trust is like a bridge that carries you over the rivers of anxiety that so often divide our days, allowing you to walk with a steady pace even when you don't know exactly where the path is leading. You might find yourself sitting in the middle of a difficult conversation or a stressful situation at work, and instead of being swept away by the tension, you can feel a small, cool spring of calm rising within you. This is the fruit of the minutes you spend in silence, the way that the quietness of the morning begins to protect you in the heat of the afternoon. It is similar to the way a sailor prepares their boat in a calm harbor, checking the ropes and the sails, so that when they are out on the open sea and the winds pick up, they know exactly how to stay upright. You are checking your own internal ropes every time you return to the breath, making sure that your heart is ready for whatever weather life decides to send your way. There was a story told about a village that was going through a period of great drought, and the people were filled with worry and fear about the future of their crops. One elder, however, spent every morning sitting by the dried-up well, not praying for rain or complaining about the sun, but simply being present with the earth as it was. When the rains finally came, this elder was the only one whose heart was not exhausted by the long wait, because he had found a way to be at peace even in the dryness. This teaches us that the quality of our lives is not determined by whether the rain falls or the sun shines, but by how we relate to the state of the world in this very moment. When you meditate, you are practicing being the elder by the well, cultivating a heart that is not dependent on external conditions for its sense of wholeness and well-being. You may also start to perceive the subtle energy that flows through your body, a gentle hum of life that is often drowned out by the louder signals of pain or pleasure. As you sit, try to feel the tips of your ears, the palms of your hands, or the soles of your feet, and you might notice a very fine vibration, like the distant sound of a honeybee. This is the direct experience of your own life force, the same energy that makes the trees grow and the stars shine, reminding you that you are never truly separate from the rest of existence. The Buddha often used the metaphor of a great ocean to describe this interconnectedness, saying that while every wave has its own shape and size, they are all made of the same salt water. When you recognize that you are the ocean as much as you are the wave, the fear of losing your individual shape begins to melt away, replaced by a sense of vast and timeless belonging. In this state of belonging, you might find that you no longer need to fill every silence with noise or every empty space with activity, as you discover that the emptiness is actually full of potential. Many people are afraid of being alone with their thoughts, which is why we often reach for our phones or turn on the television the moment we have a free second. But through meditation, you learn that the silence is not a void to be feared, but a sanctuary where you can go to recharge your soul and find your own inner voice. It is like entering a dark room and waiting for your eyes to adjust, until you realize that the room is not empty at all, but filled with beautiful furniture and familiar objects that you just couldn't see before. The more you sit in the darkness of your closed eyes, the more you begin to see the light of your own consciousness, which is more brilliant than any external lamp could ever be. There is a story of a traveler who was carrying a heavy sack of stones on his back, believing that he needed them for his journey, but as he walked, he became more and more tired and miserable. One day, a wise person asked him why he was carrying the stones, and the traveler realized he didn't even remember where he had picked them up or why he thought they were important. As he began to take the stones out of the sack one by one, his body became lighter and his heart became more joyful, and he was able to walk much faster and see much further. Your worries, your grudges, and your fixed ideas about how life should be are like those stones, and meditation is the process of opening the sack and letting them go. You don't have to carry the weight of the past or the burden of the future, you can just be here, light and free, in the simple reality of the present. This lightness brings a sense of playfulness to your practice, as you realize that meditation is not a somber or grim duty, but a joyful exploration of the miracle of being alive. You might find yourself smiling for no reason as you watch a bird land on a fence, or feeling a surge of warmth toward a stranger who is just passing by on the street. This is because your heart is no longer constricted by the need to protect itself, but has become soft and porous, allowing the beauty of the world to flow in and out without resistance. The Buddha once described a person who has found this path as being like a lotus flower that grows in the mud but remains unstained by the water, rising above the surface to bloom in the pure light of the sun. You are that lotus, and the mud of your daily challenges is the very thing that provides the nutrients for your spiritual growth and your eventual blossoming. As you sit, you might feel a deep sense of compassion for all the other lotuses in the world, recognizing that everyone is struggling in their own way to find the light. This compassion is not a heavy or sad feeling, but a bright and active energy that moves you to be more patient with your family, more helpful to your neighbors, and more kind to yourself. You realize that every act of mindfulness is a small victory for the whole human family, a tiny bit of light added to the collective shadows of our shared world. It is like lighting a single candle in a dark room, which might seem small, but it changes the entire atmosphere and makes it possible for others to see their way as well. Your practice is that candle, and the more you nourish its flame through consistent effort and gentle care, the brighter it will shine for everyone who comes near you. Sometimes, you might feel a sense of profound stillness that seems to stop time altogether, where there is no sense of before or after, only an eternal now. In these moments, you are touching the very heart of the Buddha's teachings, the realization that the peace we seek is not something to be acquired, but something to be uncovered. It has always been there, like the sun behind the clouds or the gold hidden in the earth, waiting for us to stop our frantic searching and simply be still enough to notice it. By sitting here, breathing and being present, you are doing the most revolutionary thing a person can do, which is to be completely content with who you are and where you are. You are coming to understand that you are already complete, already whole, and already home, and that every breath is a celebration of that magnificent truth. As you rest in this quiet realization of being home, you may find that the boundaries between your internal world and the external environment begin to feel much softer, like the way the mist blends into the mountainside on a cool morning. This softening is not a loss of yourself, but rather an expansion, where the sound of the wind in the trees is not something happening outside of you, but a movement within the vast field of your own awareness. In the ancient tales of the forest dwellers, there is a story about a seeker who spent years trying to find a magical mirror that would show the face of the universe, only to discover that the mirror was actually his own mind when it was settled and free from the dust of craving. When you sit in meditation, you are not looking for something new, you are simply polishing the lens through which you see everything, allowing the colors of life to appear more vivid and the shapes of reality to appear more true. You might notice that your senses begin to wake up in a way they never have before, as if you are tasting the air for the first time or really hearing the silence that sits beneath the hum of the city. We often move through our days with a thick layer of conceptual thought between us and our experience, thinking about the apple instead of tasting it, or worrying about the meeting while we are walking through a beautiful park. Meditation gently peels back these layers of thought, inviting you to step directly into the stream of life without the umbrella of your opinions and expectations. There was a young woman who once complained to a teacher that her meditation was being interrupted by the scent of jasmine from a nearby garden, which she found too distracting. The teacher laughed softly and told her that the jasmine was not the distraction, but her desire to label the scent as something that shouldn't be there was the only thing standing between her and peace. This teaches us that everything can be a part of our practice, from the fragrance of a flower to the sound of a barking dog, if we can only learn to welcome it with a heart that says yes to the present moment. When you stop fighting against the environment, you find that the environment itself becomes a support for your stillness, providing a rich and ever-changing backdrop for your journey inward. You might feel a deep sense of relief in realizing that you don't have to control the world to be happy, you only have to be present for it with a sense of curiosity and kindness. This is like being a master sailor who knows that they cannot control the direction of the wind, but they can certainly adjust their sails to navigate the waters with skill and ease. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a profound emphasis on the concept of non-clinging, which is often misunderstood as being indifferent or cold toward the world. In reality, non-clinging is the highest form of love, because it allows you to appreciate the beauty of a sunset without trying to trap it in a box, or to love a person without trying to own their spirit. It is like holding a beautiful, fragile bird in your open palm, where the bird is free to fly away at any moment, and it is precisely that freedom that makes the moment of connection so precious. When you meditate, you are practicing this open-handedness with your own thoughts and feelings, letting them come and go like guests at a tea party who are welcome to stay as long as they like but are also free to leave whenever they choose. You may find that as you develop this quality of non-clinging, your heart becomes much more resilient and less prone to the bruises of everyday life. When someone says something unkind, the words pass through your awareness like an arrow passing through the air, without finding a target to strike because you have let go of the rigid ego that used to take everything so personally. This is not a state of weakness, but a state of immense power, the power of a river that simply flows around the rocks in its path without ever losing its way to the sea. There was a famous student who was once tested by a very difficult and demanding person, and instead of reacting with anger, the student simply offered a small, sincere gift of flowers. When asked why, the student replied that if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, the gift still belongs to the person who brought it, and so it is with the gift of anger or ill will. By staying centered in your own peace, you become a sanctuary for yourself and a source of quiet inspiration for those around you, showing that it is possible to remain calm even when the world is in a state of upheaval. You might notice that your physical health begins to reflect this inner harmony, as the tension that used to reside in your neck and shoulders begins to melt away, replaced by a sense of lightness and vitality. This is the natural result of the body and mind working together in a state of cooperation rather than conflict, as you learn to listen to the subtle signals that your body is sending you throughout the day. You might find that you naturally gravitate toward food that nourishes you, movements that strengthen you, and relationships that uplift your spirit, as your intuition becomes a more reliable guide than your habits. Sometimes, during your meditation, you might experience a sense of profound emptiness that feels like standing on the edge of a great canyon, which can be a little bit frightening at first. However, if you stay with that feeling, you will realize that this emptiness is not a lack of something, but rather a space that is full of every possibility, like a blank canvas waiting for the first stroke of a brush. It is the emptiness that allows a cup to be useful, or a room to be lived in, and by touching this space within yourself, you are touching the source of all creativity and wisdom. The Buddha taught that in this emptiness, there is no fear, no sorrow, and no death, because there is no separate self to experience those things, only a continuous flow of life and light. As you sit, let yourself feel the vastness of the sky above you and the solid depth of the earth beneath you, recognizing that you are the bridge that connects the two. You are a unique expression of the universe, a point where the infinite meets the finite, and your life is a sacred dance of light and shadow. There is no need to hurry toward some imaginary goal, because the most important thing is the quality of your presence right here, in this very breath. Think of a master gardener who spends hours simply observing the plants, not because they want to force them to grow, but because they love the process of life unfolding in its own time and in its own way. You are both the gardener and the garden, and by providing yourself with the water of mindfulness and the sunlight of compassion, you are creating the perfect conditions for your own awakening. You might find that your dreams become more vivid and your waking hours become more dreamlike, as the hard edges of your reality begin to soften and blur. This is a sign that you are moving beyond the surface level of existence and entering the deeper waters of the soul, where the ancient truths of the Dharma are waiting to be rediscovered. Do not be afraid of the depths, for you have the breath as your anchor and the teachings as your compass, and the ocean of awareness is ultimately a very friendly and supportive place. There was once a group of monks who lived in a cave and found that the more they practiced, the more the cave felt like a palace, because their internal wealth was so great that the external conditions no longer mattered. When you rise from your seat, carry this feeling of internal wealth with you, knowing that you have a treasure within that cannot be stolen, lost, or diminished by any worldly event. Let your movements be deliberate and your words be chosen with care, reflecting the clarity and the kindness that you have cultivated in the silence. You are a beacon of peace in a world that is often dark and confused, and your simple presence is a gift that ripples outward to touch the hearts of many. Even if you only feel this peace for a fleeting second, that second is a seed that will grow and multiply until it fills your entire life with its fragrance and its light. You are on a path of infinite beauty and endless discovery, and every step you take is a step toward the truth of who you really are. Living from this center of inner wealth, you might begin to notice how your speech naturally changes, becoming a gentle reflection of the stillness you have cultivated in your morning hours. Often, we speak to fill the gaps in the air, or to defend our positions, but a mind touched by meditation learns to value the weight of words as if they were precious stones being placed into a clear pool. You may find yourself pausing more frequently before you respond to a question, not because you are slow, but because you are checking in with the quiet space in your heart to see if what you are about to say is true, necessary, and kind. There is an old story of a wanderer who once met a forest monk and was struck by the fact that the monk only spoke when his words could improve upon the silence. This doesn't mean you become a person of few words, but rather a person of meaningful words, whose voice carries a certain resonance that can soothe the worries of those who are lucky enough to listen to you. As you navigate the complexities of your social life, you might also find that you are less inclined to get caught in the thorns of gossip or the storms of judgment that often swirl in human circles. When you are sitting in meditation, you see how quickly your own mind can create a whole drama about a person based on a single look or a misunderstood sentence, and you learn to smile at these internal movies. Having seen the theater of your own thoughts, you become much more forgiving of the dramas that others are caught in, realizing that they too are simply reacting to the shadows on the walls of their own minds. This realization is like having a cool cloth placed on a feverish brow, bringing a sense of calm to your interactions that allows you to be the one who brings stability to a room rather than the one who adds to the chaos. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a beautiful emphasis on the power of right effort, which is not the effort of a soldier charging into battle, but the effort of a gardener tending to the soil. It is the persistent, patient work of encouraging the wholesome seeds of patience and generosity while gently allowing the unwholesome weeds of anger and greed to wither from a lack of attention. You don't have to pull the weeds out with violence, for that only disturbs the soil and often makes the roots even stronger. Instead, you simply stop watering the weeds by refusing to feed them with your focus and your energy, and over time, they naturally lose their grip on your heart. This is a very subtle and elegant way of transforming your character, relying on the power of consistency rather than the force of will, making the path feel like a natural unfolding rather than a difficult climb. You might find that your relationship with physical objects also undergoes a quiet transformation, as you begin to see the life and the history in everything you touch. The wooden table in your kitchen is no longer just a piece of furniture, but the memory of a tree that once stood in a forest, soaking up the sun and the rain for decades before it came to serve your family. This sense of connection to the material world prevents you from being a mindless consumer, and instead, you become a person who treats all things with a sense of stewardship and respect. There was a dedicated student in a small village who was known for the way he cared for his simple bowl, cleaning it with such presence and devotion that those who watched him felt as if they were witnessing a sacred ceremony. This is the magic of mindfulness. It elevates the ordinary into the extraordinary, proving that there is no part of your life that is too small or too mundane to be a vessel for your awakening. As you walk through your day, you can practice what is sometimes called the meditation of the feet, where you become acutely aware of the shifting weight between your left and right sides with every step you take. This practice keeps you from living entirely in your head, where the ghosts of the past and the phantoms of the future usually reside, and pulls you back into the solid reality of the earth. You might feel the air moving against your skin as you walk, the sounds of the distant traffic, and the rhythm of your own heart all merging into a single, seamless experience of movement. It is as if you are walking through a gallery of living art, where every person you pass and every bird that flies overhead is a masterpiece that deserves your full and undivided attention. Sometimes, a wave of old sadness or a flicker of an ancient fear might arise during these walks, and instead of trying to run away, you can simply invite that feeling to walk with you for a while. You can say to yourself, here is a feeling of loneliness, and offer it a seat in the spaciousness of your heart without needing to fix it or explain it away. There was a king who was once given a ring with an inscription that was intended to keep him balanced in both times of great joy and times of great sorrow. The inscription simply said, "This too shall pass," and this is the wisdom you carry with you when you meditate, knowing that every state of mind is a temporary visitor. This perspective allows you to enjoy the happy moments more deeply because you are not trying to freeze them in time, and it allows you to endure the difficult moments more easily because you know they are not the end of your story. You may also discover that you have a newfound capacity for listening, not just to the words people say, but to the silence that sits behind their words and the emotions that pulse beneath their skin. Most people are so hungry to be heard that when they meet someone who truly listens with a quiet and open mind, they feel a sense of profound relief and connection. By being a mindful listener, you are offering a form of charity that is more valuable than any material gift, for you are giving the gift of your presence and your non-judgmental awareness. The Buddha once taught that the greatest gift you can give to another person is the gift of your own peace, and as you deepen your meditation, you find that this gift becomes your natural way of being in the world. As you sit in this moment, let your awareness be like a vast net that catches all the sensations of the present without being weighed down by any of them. You might feel the rise and fall of your chest, the ticking of a clock, and the subtle shifts in the light as the sun moves behind a cloud, all appearing within the same field of consciousness. There is a sense of great freedom in this, the freedom of not having to choose one thing over another, but of being able to hold the entire world in a gentle and loving embrace. You are learning to trust the wisdom of your own heart, which knows how to stay steady in the midst of change and how to find beauty in the midst of the ordinary. There is a story of a traveler who was searching for a legendary spring of water that was said to give eternal youth, only to find that the spring was located right in his own backyard, hidden under a pile of stones he had placed there himself. Your meditation is the work of removing those stones, one by one, with patience and with love, until the fresh water of your own innate wisdom begins to bubble up to the surface. You don't have to go to a far-off land or find a secret teacher to find the truth, because the truth is already here, breathing through your lungs and beating in your chest. Every breath is a reminder that you are a miracle in motion, a unique and precious expression of the infinite life of the universe. When you feel yourself getting caught in the gears of stress or the whirlpools of doubt, remember that you can always return to the anchor of your breath, no matter where you are or what you are doing. The breath is a bridge that connects the mind to the body and the soul to the world, and it is always available to lead you back to the sanctuary of the present. Like a loyal friend who never leaves your side, the breath is there to remind you that you are safe, that you are whole, and that you are exactly where you need to be. As you continue to walk this path of mindfulness, you will find that the peace you have cultivated in silence becomes a steady flame that lights your way through the darkest nights and the brightest days. Tracing the gentle curves of your inner landscape, you might find that the practice begins to dissolve the heavy walls of the ego that once separated you from the living world, leaving behind a heart that is as vast and inclusive as the open sky. This shift is not about becoming someone new, but about shedding the old, tight skin of who you thought you were, much like a butterfly leaves its cocoon not to escape life, but to join it more fully. In the ancient scrolls, there is a story of a merchant who spent his whole life collecting rare jewels, hiding them in iron chests and living in constant fear that they would be stolen or lost. One evening, after listening to a wandering sage, He realized that the most precious jewel he possessed was the awareness that allowed him to see the light reflecting off the stones, and that this awareness could never be taken from him. He decided to leave his chests open, and for the first time in many years, he slept with a heart that was light and a mind that was free from the shadows of suspicion. When you sit in the stillness of your meditation, you are opening the iron chests of your own heart, allowing the light of your presence to shine on every hidden fear and every tucked-away dream. You begin to see that your vulnerabilities are not flaws to be mended, but are the very places where the light of compassion enters your soul, making you more human and more connected to the people around you. It is often the cracks in a clay pot that allow the seeds planted inside to reach for the water outside, and your own perceived imperfections are the very channels through which you can offer and receive true love. There is a profound sweetness in this self-acceptance, a sense of no longer being at war with the parts of yourself that you used to find difficult or embarrassing, and this peace naturally overflows into how you treat others. You may notice that your daily choices begin to align with a deeper sense of rhythm, as if you are dancing to a melody that only your heart can hear, yet the music is felt by everyone you meet. When you eat, you feel a deep gratitude for the earth, the sun, and the many hands that work to bring the food to your table, turning a simple meal into a quiet communion with the entire planet. When you speak, your words are no longer aimed at winning an argument or impressing a crowd, but are offered as small, sincere gifts of truth that aim to heal rather than to divide. There was once a humble worker in the time of the Buddha who was tasked with tending the gardens of a great palace, and although his job was considered lowly by many, he performed every task with such complete mindfulness that the flowers seemed to bloom more brightly under his touch. People would come from far away just to sit in his garden, not because of the exotic plants, but because they could feel the immense peace that he had infused into every leaf and every stone. This is the hidden power of your practice, the way it subtly changes the vibration of your environment, turning your home into a sanctuary and your presence into a source of comfort for those who are struggling. You don't need to be a teacher or a leader to change the world, you only need to be someone who is truly present, someone who can look at another person with eyes that are free from judgment and full of simple kindness. As you continue to breathe and sit, let go of the idea that you are doing something special or difficult, and instead, see it as the most natural thing in the world, like a flower turning toward the sun or a river finding its way to the sea. You are returning to your true nature, which is a state of effortless being, a place where you are already perfect just as you are, without any need for additions or improvements. Sometimes, as you deepen your stillness, you might encounter a sense of quiet joy that feels like a warm glow in the center of your chest, a joy that does not depend on anything happening in the outside world. This is what the sages called the joy of the path, a steady and reliable happiness that comes from the simple fact of being awake and aware in this beautiful and mysterious universe. It is like finding a hidden spring of fresh water in the middle of a desert, providing you with all the refreshment you need to continue your journey with a smile on your face and a spring in your step. You realize that the external things we often chase after, like fame, wealth, or praise, are just like flickering candles that can be blown out by the slightest wind, while the light of your own awareness is like the sun, which continues to shine even when clouds pass in front of it. There is a story of a traveler who arrived at a crossroad and was unsure which way to go, feeling overwhelmed by the many paths and the many voices offering advice. He decided to sit down and listen to the sound of his own breathing, and in that silence, the confusion began to clear, and he saw a path that was not marked on any map, a path that led straight back to his own heart. He realized that the direction he needed to go was not a physical location, but a state of mind, a way of moving through the world with clarity and with grace. Meditation is that crossroad for you, a place where you can stop the frantic search for answers and discover that the wisdom you need is already within you, waiting for the noise to die down so it can be heard. As you move through the next hours of your day, carry this sense of inner guidance with you, letting it be the quiet compass that keeps you on the path of kindness and truth. You will find that you are less likely to be swayed by the opinions of others or the pressures of the world, because you have found a solid ground within yourself that cannot be shaken. Like a deep-rooted tree that can withstand the strongest storms, your practice gives you the strength to remain upright and flexible, bending with the wind but never breaking under its force. This is the true meaning of spiritual maturity, the ability to meet life on its own terms with a heart that is open, a mind that is clear, and a soul that is at peace with the unfolding of each and every moment. You might find that you start to see the interconnectedness of all things in every small detail of your life, from the way the rain nourishes the grass to the way a stranger's smile can brighten your entire afternoon. This recognition of our shared existence is the foundation of true compassion, the understanding that when you help another, you are helping yourself, and when you hurt another, you are hurting yourself. The Buddha taught that we are all part of one great family of life, and that our happiness is inextricably linked to the happiness of all beings, no matter how small or how far away they may be. By cultivating peace within yourself, you are contributing to the peace of the whole world, adding your own unique note of harmony to the grand symphony of existence. As you sit in this moment, let your heart be as soft as a summer breeze and as wide as the horizon, holding all of life with a sense of wonder and profound respect. There is nothing to fear, nothing to fix, and nothing to change, for everything is exactly as it should be in this infinite dance of light and shadow. You are a precious part of the whole, a miracle of consciousness that has the capacity to know itself and to love itself, and every breath you take is a celebration of that magnificent truth. Keep walking this path with a gentle heart and a curious mind, and you will find that the journey itself is the most beautiful destination you could ever imagine. Stepping further into this field of open awareness, you may start to perceive that meditation is not a task that ends when you open your eyes, but a continuous thread that weaves through the fabric of your entire existence. It is like the steady, invisible current of a deep river that carries the leaves and the blossoms on its surface, providing the momentum and the life force for everything it touches without ever needing to announce its presence. In the ancient stories of the Seekers, there was a man who wandered the world looking for a master who could teach him how to see the invisible, only to meet an old woman sitting by a stream who told him that the invisible is seen through the eyes of absolute simplicity. She explained that when you stop trying to look for something extra, you begin to see the extraordinary hidden in the plainest things, like the way the morning dew clings to a spider's web or the way a stone feels warm after a day of soaking in the sun. This shift in vision is the quiet miracle of a mindful heart, where the boundary between the sacred and the ordinary begins to crumble until there is only the vivid reality of the here and the now. As you go about your work and your chores, you might find that the frantic voice of the inner narrator, the one who is always telling you that you should be somewhere else or doing something more important, begins to lose its authority over your peace. You start to realize that there is no hierarchy of moments, and that washing a dish or folding a piece of laundry is just as profound an act of existence as sitting in a quiet temple or watching a sunset over the sea. There was a young student who once asked a great teacher for the secret to a happy life, and the teacher simply told him to eat when he was hungry and sleep when he was tired. The student was disappointed, thinking the answer was too simple, but as he practiced, he realized how difficult it is to truly eat without thinking of the past and how rare it is to sleep without worrying about the future. By bringing your full attention to the physical sensation of the present task, you are honoring the life that is flowing through you in this very second, and you are refusing to let your precious time be stolen by the shadows of a mind that is never satisfied. This quality of presence is like a soft light that follows you wherever you go, illuminating the faces of the people you meet and the texture of the world you inhabit with a sense of gentle reverence. You might notice that you no longer feel the need to rush through your life as if it were a list of chores to be ticked off, but instead, you begin to savor the pauses and the transitions as much as the destinations. There is a profound freedom in the realization that you do not have to arrive anywhere to be whole, because you are already standing in the center of your own life, and every step you take is already a homecoming. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a beautiful concept of the beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end, which reminds us that every stage of our journey has its own unique flavor and its own inherent value. You are not a project to be finished or a problem to be solved, but a living, breathing work of art that is constantly unfolding in the light of your own awareness. Sometimes, in the middle of a busy day, you might find a moment of sudden, unprompted stillness that feels like a quiet clearing in a dense forest, a place where you can stop and breathe and remember who you really are. In these moments, the weight of your roles and your titles falls away, and you are left with the simple, luminous fact of your own consciousness, which is older than your name and deeper than your history. You realize that you are the space in which all your experiences happen, a vast and hospitable host that is never diminished by the sorrows it holds and never exhausted by the joys it experiences. This is the source of true resilience, the understanding that while the weather of your life may change, the sky of your being remains vast, clear, and untouched by the storm. There was once a traveler who was caught in a heavy downpour and sought shelter under a small tree, feeling frustrated and cold as the rain soaked through his clothes and the wind chilled his bones. He looked over and saw a bird perched on a nearby branch, not fighting the rain or hiding from the wind, but simply ruffling its feathers and waiting with a heart that seemed perfectly at ease. The traveler realized that the rain was not an enemy to be feared, but a part of the natural cycle of the earth, and as he relaxed his resistance, he felt a sense of peace that was deeper than his physical discomfort. Meditation gives you the heart of that bird, the ability to sit in the rain of your own life with a sense of equanimity and a quiet trust in the unfolding of the seasons. You are learning to move through the world with a light touch, neither clinging to the pleasant nor pushing away the unpleasant, but meeting each experience with a steady hand and a clear eye. You might also find that your sense of humor begins to bloom in unexpected ways, as you see the funny side of your own mind's constant attempts to create drama and complexity where none exists. There is a certain playfulness in watching your thoughts spin their elaborate webs, knowing that you can simply step through them whenever you choose, like walking through a mist that only appears solid from a distance. This lightheartedness is a sign of spiritual health, a reminder that the path is not a somber or heavy burden, but a joyful discovery of the freedom that has always been your true nature. You are learning to take yourself less seriously while taking the present moment more seriously, finding a balance between the depth of your insight and the lightness of your spirit. As you sit in this quiet space, let your awareness flow out like the scent of a jasmine flower on a summer evening, touching everything in its path with a sense of kindness and grace. You don't have to do anything or go anywhere to be a blessing to the world, because your very presence, when it is clear and calm, acts as a soothing balm for the restlessness of others. You are like a quiet lamp in a dark room, which does not need to shout or strive to be noticed, but simply by being what it is, it makes it possible for everyone else to see. This is the ultimate purpose of your practice, to become a source of light and a sanctuary of peace for yourself and for all living beings, reflecting the infinite beauty and the timeless wisdom that resides in the heart of every breath. Keep trusting the silence and the breath, for they are the oldest and wisest teachers you will ever find, leading you step by step toward the realization of your own boundless potential. You are part of a great and ancient lineage of seekers who have found that the highest truth is not found in books or in buildings, but in the quiet chambers of the human heart. Each time you choose to be present, you are adding your own unique spark to the collective light of humanity, proving that peace is possible, that love is real, and that the present moment is the only home we will ever truly have. Proceed with a gentle heart and a steady mind, knowing that you are never alone on this path, for the entire universe is breathing with you, supporting you, and celebrating every moment of your awakening. Walking along this invisible path of inner silence, you may discover that the more you let go of the need to define yourself, the more you feel a profound connection to the silent wisdom of the natural world around you. There is a quiet, wordless language spoken by the trees, the flowing water, and the shifting shadows of the afternoon, and when your mind is still, you finally begin to understand the grammar of this ancient conversation. In the historical chronicles of the enlightened ones, there is a story about a seeker who traveled to the highest mountains to find a secret mantra that would unlock the mysteries of the universe, only to find an old monk sitting by a small fire. The monk told him that the most powerful mantra is simply the sound of the wind through the pines and the crackle of the flames, for these sounds carry the truth of existence without the filter of human desire. When you sit in meditation, you are not trying to reach a high peak of intellectual understanding, but you are descending into the valley of your own being, where the truth is as plain and as refreshing as a drink of cool water from a mountain spring. This simplicity is a form of great power, because it allows you to remain unshaken by the winds of praise and blame that so often disturb the peace of the world. Imagine you are like a massive, ancient bell made of the finest bronze, which remains silent and noble until it is struck by a hammer, and even then, it produces a sound that is pure, resonant, and eventually fades back into a deep, dignified silence. The strikes of life, whether they are the sharp blows of criticism or the soft taps of flattery, do not change the quality of the bronze, they only allow the bell to reveal its own inner resonance. Through meditation, you are refining the bronze of your character, ensuring that no matter how hard the world strikes you, the sound you produce is one of clarity, compassion, and unwavering strength. There was once a young student who felt deeply hurt by a friend's harsh words, and her teacher suggested that she go and sit by a large rock in the middle of a rushing stream. The teacher asked her to notice how the water dashed against the rock with great force, yet the rock did not argue, did not feel insulted, and did not lose its shape. It simply allowed the water to pass over it while remaining perfectly centered in its own weight. As you develop this rock-like stability, you also find that your capacity for joy becomes much more spacious, allowing you to appreciate the happiness of others as if it were your own. This is the antidote to the poison of envy, which is a cold and hungry feeling that shrivels the heart and blinds the eyes to the abundance that is already present. In the light of mindfulness, you see that the success of a neighbor or the joy of a stranger does not diminish your own light, just as one candle does not lose its flame by lighting another. Instead, you find that the world becomes a much brighter place when you can celebrate every spark of goodness you encounter, turning the entire human experience into a shared festival of light. You might find yourself walking down a busy street, looking at the faces of the people passing by, and feeling a sudden, warm surge of well-being for them, wishing them safety and peace without even knowing their names. This expansion of the heart is the true measure of your progress, far more important than how long you can sit or how many books you have read on the subject of the soul. You are learning to live in a state of soft, receptive awareness, where you are not constantly leaning into the future to find satisfaction, but are resting in the richness of the current moment. There is a story of a traveler who found a small, perfect shell on a beach and spent the rest of the day admiring its curves and its colors, feeling as if he had found the greatest treasure in the world. His friends, who were busy searching for gold and jewels further down the coast, thought he was wasting his time, but the traveler was the only one who went to bed that night with a heart that was full and a mind that was at rest. Meditation teaches you to be that traveler, to find the infinite in the small and the eternal in the fleeting, recognizing that the gold you are seeking is already beneath your feet in the form of the present second. You may also notice that your relationship with your physical body becomes more one of partnership and less one of mastery, as you learn to listen to the quiet messages it sends you about its needs and its limits. Instead of pushing your body to perform like a machine, you treat it with the tenderness of a gardener tending to a rare and delicate plant, providing it with the rest, the movement, and the nourishment it requires to thrive. This physical kindness is a form of meditation in itself, a way of acknowledging that your body is the temple in which your consciousness resides, and that by caring for the temple, you are honoring the life that dwells within. You might find that you become more aware of the subtle ways that stress manifests as a tightness in the jaw or a shallow breath in the lungs, and with a gentle smile of recognition, you can release those tensions before they take root. There was a famous artist who was once asked how he was able to paint such life and vibrant birds, and he replied that he didn't just look at the birds, but he sat with them until he could feel the beat of their wings in his own heart. Meditation is the art of sitting with your own life until you can feel its rhythm, its pulse, and its inherent beauty without the need to capture or control it. You are becoming a witness to the masterpiece that is your own existence, watching the colors of your moods and the lines of your thoughts with a sense of appreciative wonder. This perspective allows you to move through the world with a sense of grace and ease, as you are no longer trying to force the world to fit a certain image, but are allowing the image to reveal itself to you in its own time and in its own way. As you sit in this moment of quietude, let your mind be like a vast, clear mirror that reflects the entire universe without being crowded by a single object. You can see the light of the stars, the movement of the clouds, and the depth of the earth all within the space of your own awareness, recognizing that you are as much a part of the cosmos as the most distant galaxy. There is a profound sense of safety in this realization, a feeling of being held by the same laws that govern the tides and the seasons, which brings a deep, abiding peace to the center of your soul. You are never truly alone, for the entire web of life is supporting you in every breath you take, providing you with the air, the warmth, and the energy you need to continue your journey. Think of a small boat resting on the surface of a calm lake in the early morning, where the water is so still that it is impossible to tell where the lake ends and the sky begins. Your meditation is that stillness, a state of being where the boundaries of the self and the world dissolve into a single, seamless experience of light and peace. You are the boat, you are the water, and you are the sky, all at the same time, existing in a state of perfect harmony and effortless being. This is the home you have been searching for, the place where all questions are answered by the silence and all fears are dissolved by the light of your own presence. Keep returning to this stillness, for it is the source of all wisdom, the well of all compassion, and the true foundation of a life lived in the beauty of the truth. Finding yourself at this gentle plateau of understanding, you might begin to sense that the journey into stillness is actually an infinite opening, a door that leads not to a room, but to a vast, boundless horizon where the very air you breathe feels like a blessing. It is as if you have been walking through a thick, misty forest for a long time, and suddenly you emerge onto a high ridge where the sun is just beginning to rise, bathing everything in a golden, healing light that makes the struggle of the climb seem like a distant, faded memory. In the ancient stories of the humble practitioners, there is a tale of an old potter who found that his clay became much more resilient and beautiful when he stopped trying to force it into a shape and instead learned to listen to the rhythm of the spinning wheel and the moisture in the air. He realized that the masterpiece was not something he created with his will, but something that revealed itself when he became a channel for the natural flow of the elements. This is the ultimate stage of your meditation, where you stop trying to make peace happen and you simply allow yourself to be the peace that has always been the ground of your existence. As you look out at the world with this newfound clarity, you may notice that the things that used to trigger your impatience or your frustration now seem like small ripples on the surface of a very deep and very calm ocean. You might find yourself in a crowded room where voices are loud and opinions are clashing, and instead of being pulled into the whirlpool, you feel like a steady, ancient lighthouse that remains firm while the waves break against its base. There is a profound sense of compassion that arises when you realize that most people are simply trying to find their way in the dark, and that your own inner light can serve as a quiet guide for them without you even saying a single word of advice. There was a legendary traveler who once reached a village where everyone was constantly arguing, and instead of joining the debate, he simply sat under a large tree in the center of the square and began to breathe with a heart full of kindness. One by one, the villagers felt the shift in the atmosphere and sat down near him, finding that their anger melted away in the presence of someone who was truly at home in their own soul. This silent influence is the greatest contribution you can make to the lives of those you love and even those you may never meet, for a heart at peace is a gift to the entire human family. You start to see that every interaction is a sacred opportunity to practice this presence, whether you are helping a child with their homework, listening to an elderly neighbor tell the same story for the 10th time, or simply standing in line at the grocery store. You are no longer in a hurry to get to the next moment, because you have discovered that the current moment is already filled with a richness that is beyond measure. There is a story of a young monk who was so eager to reach enlightenment that he spent all his time studying heavy books, until one day his teacher asked him to just sit and watch the way a single drop of rain moved down a leaf. The monk spent the entire afternoon watching that one drop, and in its slow, steady journey, he saw the entire mystery of life, the way things arise, stay for a while, and then return to the source without a single moment of resistance. Your life is that drop of rain, a beautiful and fleeting expression of the universe, and meditation is the art of appreciating every millimeter of the journey before you eventually merge back into the great ocean of being. As you settle into this final realization of the path, let your heart be as light as a feather and as strong as a diamond, capable of holding both the joys and the sorrows of the world with a sense of immense, unshakable gratitude. You might feel a sense of profound kinship with the stars above and the earth below, knowing that the same energy that moves the planets is moving through your own veins, and that there is no place you can go where you are not supported by the laws of nature. This is the true meaning of refuge, finding a sanctuary within yourself that is not built of stone or wood, but of the pure, luminous awareness that has no beginning and no end. Think of a musician who has practiced their scales for many years and finally reaches a point where the music just flows through their fingers without any effort at all, as if the violin is playing itself and the musician is just a witness to the beauty. Your meditation has become that music, a natural and effortless expression of your own inner harmony that continues to play in the background of your life, even when you are talking, working, or dreaming. You have found the kind roots of your own existence, the deep and nourishing source of wisdom and love that provides the foundation for everything you do and everything you are. There is no longer a distinction between the time you spend sitting on a cushion and the time you spend walking through the world, for every breath has become an act of mindfulness and every step has become a prayer of gratitude. In the time of the Buddha, there was a man who asked what he should do after he had found the truth, and the answer was simply to keep walking, to keep breathing, and to keep being a friend to all living things. This is the simplicity of the path, a return to the basic goodness of our own hearts, where we no longer need to seek anything outside of ourselves to feel complete. You are a miracle of consciousness, a point where the infinite universe has become aware of its own beauty, and your only task is to remain awake to this magnificent truth. As you move forward from this space of stillness, let your eyes be soft and your hands be open, reflecting the peace you have discovered in the silence of your own breath. You are the light you have been looking for, you are the peace you have been seeking, and you are already, and always have been, perfectly and beautifully home. May the echoes of this silence stay with you, guiding your steps and warming your heart, as you continue to dance the sacred dance of life with a soul that is forever free and a mind that is forever at rest.